It's time for Bringing the Heat with Bryan Nolen.
What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? It is another edition of Bringing the Heat with Bryan Nolen. Yours truly here, the last week before we head off into the Olympic break. And I know everybody is going to be excited for the 2 weeks off. Although we will miss you guys, we also are excited. On this week's edition of the program, on behalf of Panini America, it is going to be the drive of the number 4 car for Stewart-Haas Racing and the newest member in 2025 for the Wood Brothers, Mr. Josh Berry. We're going to be talking about the relief that he has, knowing that he has a job for next season already lined up. We're going to be talking about his season overall, and then what it's like to be working with Rodney Childers. And then we're also going to be the latest on his partnership with Panini America, and if he's going to be doing any collaborations with the most polarizing figure in the WNBA right now, that being Caitlin Clark. So without further ado, let's dive on into the Inferno, this time with Josh Berry.
Now it's time for...
And from the court to the racetrack, Clark is getting her face out there. The Indiana Fever rookie was featured on a paint scheme for driver Josh Berry's car in this weekend's Brickyard 400 at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. The paint scheme is part of a partnership with sports collectible company Panini America and Stewart-Haas Racing.
To go into the Inferno with Bryan.
Right now, folks, at this time, going to bring in the program driver of the number 4 car. He is on behalf of Panini America. Josh Berry and Stewart-Haas Racing has partnered with Panini America, so they are going to become an associate sponsor for the remainder of the season, beginning with the Brickyard 400 at Indy this Sunday, July the 21st. Josh Berry joins the program. Josh, how are you, my friend? And thanks for taking some time with me.
Yeah, I'm doing good, man. Thanks for having me on.
Well, let's dive into this season. Obviously, it's been an adjustment with you moving up to the Cup ranks. Just if you were to give yourself a grade, what grade would you give it so far?
Yeah, that's hard to answer. I think at times, it's definitely been a little up and down, I guess it feels like. But overall, really, I've just kind of been valuing the potential that we've shown, and we've qualified in the top 5 several times, ran in the top 5 several times. We've led laps in my rookie season. I think those are all things to really be proud of. Most definitely just, need to be more consistent this second half. I'm not exactly sure what we need to do that. I think that the speed and the cars have been there a lot, over the last couple months. And I think it's just about gaining some more experience and learning and Cup race, just being in the Cup Series and learning how to race better and execute these races better. And I think that stuff will come with time. I think the thing that I'm battling there is just experience, right? Like you just go some of these places for the first time, and one mistake can really hurt your day. So, but overall, I've been really proud of the job we've done amidst everything that's going on. I think that really the harder it got for us, the better we did, and I think that shows a lot about myself and Rodney and the whole 4 team.
You mentioned the experience aspect, and then you mentioned Rodney. You get a guy above the pit box that has a bunch of experience. Just how has that relationship grown with Rodney ever since it got announced to right now? And then how much does he bring to the table to help you in this debut rookie year?
Well, he's just been a great leader throughout this process, right? I think that his success and accolades in this sport has really helped, just helps with my confidence, his confidence, the whole race team. He's just been a great leader through all this, really through it. He's been really open with us about everything going on, and we've talked a lot through it, and there's been no secrets amongst us all. And I think that's just all kept us on the same page. And obviously he builds fast race cars, and that helps, right? Without a doubt. I think that, we most definitely didn't dream this up or expect it to go like this with SHR shutting down. But like I said, I feel like we haven't made the most of it, but we've done a lot of good things throughout the process while everything's been going on. And it's definitely, it's been a lot of fun working with him this year.
Josh Berry, on behalf of Panini America, joins the program. Obviously, you get a 2-week break after this week's race at the Brickyard. How refreshing is that? Obviously, it's a grind of a season. I mean, what we have one off week after or before the Clash, or after the Clash, I should say, and then you don't get one till mid-July. Just how refreshing is the break going to be for you? And then any fun plans?
Yeah, it's definitely going to be it's going to be nice to have a couple weeks to kind of recharge, I guess. The season's most definitely long and a grind, but you know what you're getting into when you get into it, and really, I think, everything, the hardest part is just traveling all the time, right? I think that's the biggest thing. You just realize when you race on Sundays, it feels like you lose a day in your week compared to what it was in the Xfinity Series. So just in that's been the biggest thing, with my daily, weekly schedule and figuring all that out. But it's been a lot of fun too. And as for the off weeks, I'm running the car store race at Hickory next week for KHI on next Saturday. And then after that, we're going on vacation and going to spend some time away.
Josh Berry joins the program here. You mentioned the Xfinity Series a little bit in passing. Now, I think most people weren't expecting you to be in the Xfinity Series driving for a little bit, but you have. You're racing. You raced last week at Pocono in the 15. Just how did that come about? And then any upcoming more races that we will see you in?
Yeah, I mean, really just, obviously they are dealing with some change on the 15 car, and they reached out to me and asked if I would run Pocono, and I agreed to run Pocono, and obviously in hopes of running Indy too, just because I haven't raced in Indy. So thankfully they put me in for Indy as well. I just think it's going to be a great opportunity for me to go learn and experience the track before the Brickyard 400. And Pocono didn't go to plan. Obviously, we had a issue with a tire rub at the beginning of the race and had a couple flat tires. But really, I thought the speed of the car was, that was a big issue for us at the start of the race. We were 2 laps down, pretty quick, down a couple sets of tires. And we battled back, got back on lead lap, finished the race, kept the car in one piece. I think that, learned a lot, and hopefully, Indianapolis can be we can show more of our potential there.
Now, on behalf of Panini America, this weekend's Brickyard 400, Barry and Panini will debut a one-of-a-kind paint scheme featuring Indiana Fever rookie and WNBA All-Star Caitlin Clark, who's going to appear on a card included in Panini's recently released Caitlin Clark collection. Just how did this partnership start? And then any contact with Caitlin Clark? Has she given you any advice? Have you given her any advice on to deal with the pressure of anything? Just what's this been like for you?
Yeah, no, it's been really cool to watch this come together over the last couple of weeks. Obviously, Panini has a great presence in NASCAR. As a driver, we spend plenty of time working with them and signing trading cards. Fans always have the cards every week and out. So it's a great partnership on both sides. And obviously, their Caitlin Clark collection has been released. It's at Target, Walmart. Online at Panini as well, and it's just a really cool partnership. I think we have a great looking race car, and obviously having Caitlin's presence on the hood is up the attention, up the popularity of it all, and it's going to be a really cool experience. And hopefully we can go out and have a great race this weekend. But no, I haven't spoke with Caitlin. Maybe if we win Sunday, maybe we can arrange that.
All right, I'm gonna hold you to it. I'll either text Jared or I'll message Holden saying, "Hey, if Josh wins, you gotta text Caitlin about this." But a couple more things here before we let you go. The vibe among Stewart Haas Racing. Obviously, we all know that quote unquote downsizing. I mean, they're switching to Haas factory team. But Stewart Haas is going away. What's the vibe been like? Obviously, it's not the ideal situation, but how do you guys just keep one foot over the other and then just continue to grind every single week?
Well, I think that it's most definitely been a challenge navigating through all that, kind of each step in the process. Obviously, you had the beginning, which was just kind of the rumors and speculation, and trying to, that was the hardest part for us, I think, because we didn't know which direction to go individually until we knew for sure what the future would hold, right? Really for a lot of us, until we actually knew that Stewart Haas was completely going away, we couldn't really just assume that until till we knew for sure. So that was probably the hardest part of navigating it all. Once we knew the finality of SHR going away and that we all had to kind of look for our own opportunities, I think that that's a challenge as well, but it was a little easier to navigate for us all. And I think I think we've all dealt with it differently. I think that for my team, we've probably only, our best races were amongst, in that process. So that's something that I'm really proud of. And I think that, the culture at the shop, I mean, there's obviously a lot going on, but everybody's still really motivated to keep working. I mean, everybody there is, I know we say it all the time, but there's a ton of racers in that building. They're professionals. They've had success. They're going to all, most of those guys are so good at what they do. They're going to find opportunities and have found opportunities at other race teams. So now it's more about just going out and trying to do our jobs the best we can throughout the remainder of the season and hopefully get one of our 4 cars in victory lane.
Last but not least, you mentioned the remainder of the season. Your best chance to potentially get into victory lane. Obviously, Richmond is coming up. You got Bristol down the road, Martinsville down the road. Obviously, you're a short track expert. That's what quote unquote people say. Where do you find your strengths heading into the final few races of the regular season and then into the playoffs that potentially we could see you and Rodney get into victory lane?
Yeah, I think Richmond, all those that you named, I think are going to be great opportunities for us. And we've continued to show potential and improvement at the intermediates, qualifying up front. We were on the front row at Nashville, qualified 5th at Pocono. I think that, the speed's getting better. We just kind of put everything together. But I think, really looking at it, I'd say Richmond, Darlington, those are all going to be, we had a really good car at Darlington in the spring. I think all those are going to be opportunities for us that if we can have a car as good as we did the first time around and execute a good race, that hopefully we can find ourselves in victory lane.
Once again, PaniniAmerica.net, the Caitlin Clark collection, available now at Target, Walmart, and online at PaniniAmerica.net. They have partnered with Stewart-Haas Racing and Josh Berry, becoming an associate sponsor for the remainder of the season, beginning with the Brickyard 400 this Sunday at IMS. Josh, thank you so much for taking some time. Good luck this season, and then good luck the rest of the way, my friend.
Awesome. Thank you, man.
Josh Berry, driver of the number 4 car for Stewart-Haas Racing, joining the program. Once again, we just dove into the Inferno on behalf of Panini America. Big thanks to Josh as well as to Holden Hill, the media relations supervisor, for setting all of this up. Big thanks to Josh as well for taking some time. Once again, Panini America is teaming up with Stewart-Haas Racing and a fantastic paint scheme with Caitlin Clark for this weekend's Brickyard 400. Let's dive on into what is still hot with the latest news.
What's still hot? It's time to upgrade you on the latest news in NASCAR.
The latest news and notes of the week. I'm going to bring in my co-host at this time at M_Massey22, the one, the only Mr. Michael Massie, our content director for the website we know as frontstretch.com. Massie, what is going on, my friend? How you doing, brother?
I'm doing pretty good. Just a rainy night here in Virginia, and like you said earlier, I am so glad that the break is upon us.
Mm-hmm.
We all need this time off. And NASCAR, we need more off weeks in the future.
Oh my gosh.
I'll preach that for
the love of God, yes. Like, I am just so excited to just have 2 weeks off. Like, I don't think anyone knows just the teams, the drivers, but also the media members. We are all excited for this. A guy that is probably also excited, that would be the fine folks at Richmond Raceway that have 3 weeks to prep and get ready for what we got announced a couple of days ago. Option tires, 2 different sets of tires that will be used for the Richmond Raceway weekend. Massey, something had to change, something had to happen because the action track is more like the sleepy track these days. No, I'm not talking about a president. I'm talking about a racetrack. Why now? And then do you think this will change the racing as well as the overall thoughts of Richmond Raceway?
Well, I don't appreciate you comparing that track to politics or anything like that. So, racing hasn't been that bad, but but yeah, it was a necessary thing to try these option tires because let's face it, Goodyear was bringing tires that were so hard. They were like just there's no tire wear, especially the left side tires. For so many of these tracks, that this is a good way for them to throw something softer out there. And if it's terrible, the teams only have a couple sets. I believe they have to run 2 sets of them, and so you still have harder tires to fall back on if it is a disaster, which I don't think it will be, because I think Goodyear needed to soften these things up a bunch. So, and then just the strategy of it, it'll be a little more like an F1 race, just something to spice things up in the middle where they get those long green flag runs. You might see somebody throw the option tire on there, go out there for 50 laps and just, lap the field and go super fast, and then they fall on back. So I think it'll create more comers and goers. I'm really excited for it. I know there's a lot of criticism after the All-Star race when there wasn't too much difference in the 2 tires, and it was like the soft tires. Well, we should just be running every week anyways. So hopefully Goodyear learned their lesson from that, and will have be more ready for this Richmond race. Which also the track itself, North Wilkesboro was a brand new surface. Richmond is an old surface, wears out tires as it is. So I'm optimistic. There's some people pessimistic about it, but I say for the most part I am optimistic.
Without further ado, let's dive on into our soundbite of the week.
Well, Tony, what angered you at the end of the race? What did you take issue with?
What the hell do you think I was mad about? Dumb little runs us clear down to the infield. He wants to about everybody else, and he's the one that drives like a little. I'm gonna bust his ass.
Thanks, Tony.
Thank you.
And short track races.
It's time for the sound bites of the week.
Can you Can you walk through what happened with that on that restart with the 8 with Kyle?
Yeah, I got a big push from the 16. When you're 20th back there, dude, it's in the hornet's nest, and you're 7 wide into 1. If you're not the guy in the bottom, somebody else behind you is going to jam it in there and put you freaking middle, right? So I had a bit of a run. 16 gave me a big shot. I got to the left rear of the 8, and he blocked it once, and I just kind of held the wheel straight, and I was almost anticipating our bumpers kind of lining up and giving him a little bit of a shove, but when he blocked it the second time, it just turned him across my nose, and I hit it, tore up some good cars.
You're gonna have enough room to get back behind him.
I spun out Jimmy there when he checked up, in Kansas, kind of same thing. He checked up super early, and I didn't see the smoke. He checked up, and I got in the back of him, and he spun down to the bottom and got me in the left rear, so I had flashbacks of that. So I wanted to make sure I gassed it up and didn't get hit in the left rear, which I'm glad we didn't, but I know some other guys behind us did.
There's some mixed emotions with that. How much of that do you listen to?
I mean, it's a very emotional sport because you pour your heart and soul into it each and every week, and you live and die by the result that's next to your name, whether you like it or not. That's just how you're defined, and that's how you're ranked. It's a competitive-based business, and the 7 team hasn't had a great year, the 8 team hasn't had a great year, so anytime the day's not going to finish how you want to, you're going to be frustrated, and I understand that. I'm sure he's mad. I'm sure there was guys that caught up that was mad, but I didn't feel like it was a bonehead move. I had a run. I got to the left rear. He blocked it twice, and the second time he spun his ass out.
Our soundbite of the week, once again, that was Corey LaJoy. Our Steven Stump caught up with him after the race in Pocono. I'm going to talk about this in a little bit after you, Massie, but in my final thoughts segment, that is. However, it was announced on Wednesday that he will not be getting fined for this. No penalties whatsoever. Basically, it looked like he got right hooked. Is that a good call for him not to get fined?
I've gone back and forth on it. My view from today might be different from my view yesterday on Happy Hour, but ultimately, I am glad he didn't get. I don't know. I think you could have fined him. I'm glad he didn't get like a suspension or a points penalty because it was a racing deal. Yeah, I don't think he went in there trying to wreck 6 cars. I think he maybe meant to give a little nudge to Kyle and maybe gave a little too much to it and wrecked him. But as pointed out on Happy Hour the other night, Kyle Busch also has wrecked someone this year in a very similar. I mean, it was North Wilkesboro, so it was slower speeds. You should factor that in a little bit. The Poconos are dangerous place to wreck somebody. But Busch didn't receive any penalties. I think the wrecking under cautions and like after the checkered flag, those types of deals are worse than this because people might not have all their safety stuff on, or there might be a safety truck out there, different things like that. So I'm glad he wasn't penalized to that level, but I don't know. I keep going back and forth. It feels like Corey LaJoie got away with it, but also I don't know that he fully deserves a penalty. So I'll just ride the fence on that, Brian.
You know what we call that? We call that pulling an Adam Cheek.
Oh,
And
how dare you?
I know. Tom, don't get mad at me. I already told Adam this. We're fine. Shout out Tom Bowles. Love you, Tom. Shout out Adam Cheek. I like you. Without further ado, let's dive on into the final thoughts and wrap this bad boy up.
It's going to be a drag race all the way back to the start-finish line. No caution. They're side by side, right to the line. Big crash. Here they come. Checkered flag.
The checkered flag is out, and it's time for the final thoughts.
All right, our final thought segment is in the air. Mr. Michael James Massie Jr. III, whatever you want to rant, rave, or anything in between, now is the time to do so, my friend.
All right, so we're recording this on Wednesday, and there's a lot of stuff announced today. Like Steve Phelps and Ben Kennedy both got promoted, and it sounds like there's a lot of layoffs happening. So there's a lot of restructuring going around inside of NASCAR, and you got to think it's related to that they're still trying to work out the charter agreement with the teams, right? So maybe they're trying to, get a little thinner on the amount of money they're spending and kind of streamline stuff in order to offer the teams more money. And so, to me, them making these moves, like anyone that got laid off, I'm sorry, that sucks. Yeah, I hope you land on your feet. But that's encouraging for me that maybe during this Olympic break, we actually finally get a deal done for next year. Because, Brian, it's getting pretty late in the season. Like the playoffs are almost here. And every week that goes by, I feel like the threat level, what do they call it? The alarm level or whatever, like it needs to go a little higher. And we're just like, if it doesn't get done during this Olympic break, I don't know that something will get done. Maybe the next time would be like November or something like that. But yeah, it's good to see NASCAR budging a little bit, I guess. That's my assumption. I don't know that for sure, but given some of these structural moves they're making, I feel like they're budging a little bit, and that's encouraging because from what we heard last from Denny Hamlin, folks like that, they hadn't budgeted at all before this. So I think we're getting a little compromised, Brian.
Okay. Now listen, I don't sugarcoat this, but I will say this. My boss, Tom Bowles, had a fantastic article on frontstretch.com in his Did You Notice column about Kyle Busch. Now, obviously, it's been the season from hell for Kyle Busch, but I want you to listen to a couple of these stats. Last 7 races for Kyle Busch, 5 DNFs, obviously the worst stretch of his career. 2-time Cup champion, spiraled downward from over 30 points above the cut line. Now he's 100 points behind it. Now, in the 6 seasons of 5 or more DNFs, 2 of those 6 are now when he was with RCR. I mean, this guy cannot catch a break. Sure, he finished second or third in Atlanta by barely losing to Ryan Blaney and Daniel Suarez. But I mean, besides that, only two top five finishes. A fourth at Dover in May after he won the pole, and then a third, like I said, in Atlanta. This has been a disaster season. And for Kyle Busch, I think we saw it in his post-race availability after he got wrecked from Kyle Busch. I like to thank my sponsors. I just like to thank everybody, everybody at the shop. Thank Rebel Whiskey. Thank Zone. Thank everybody at RCR. You could see the writing on the wall. I don't know if this partnership is going to last with him, whether it ends after this year, whether it ends after next year. This guy is way too good to be in this quote-unquote shitty of equipment. Where he goes, we'll find out. But once again, fantastic column on frontstretch.com. Did you notice Kyle Busch's NASCAR career cratering with Richard Childress? One thing that is I'm always thankful for, that is Mr. Michael James Massie Jr. the third, and everything that he does for the website. Massie, you got a great column you share with Anthony Damcott, Fire on Fridays. Are you writing this weekend? And then what are you writing about, my friend?
Yes, sir, Brian. I'm writing Fire on Fridays. If people want to read it, they can look for it on Fire on Fridays on frontstretch.com. And I don't know what I'm going to be writing about yet. A lot of great topics out there to choose from. A lot of great stuff has already been written about on our website. So we'll see what I come up with, but I can guarantee you it will be fiery, like the headline of the title said. And then
in the words of Charles Barkley, guarantee.
Guarantee. And then you can follow me on socials at m_Massey22. And then lastly, I will be covering a race this weekend, not the Brickyard 400, another prestigious race though, the Hampton Heat at Langley Speedway. Some guy by the name of Dale Earnhardt Jr. will be racing in it. I don't know if anyone watches him or not. And yeah, we'll get all kinds of interviews. Myself, Michael Finley will be there. We'll get interviews. We'll have an article about it on the website. You can watch the interviews we do on the Front Stretch Grassroots YouTube page. So be sure to follow along for all that great racing action if it stays dry this weekend. Please stay dry.
Hey, if you want my weather in Idaho and I can take your weather, it's supposed to be 110 here. So, I mean, it's up to you.
I just want to get the race in, you know?
Okay. Listen, we could switch. That's fine with me. Okay. But I mean, you may die, but you know, it is what it is. If you die, you die.
If I die, I die.
Thank you, Kirk Cousins. Once again, at the Bryan Nolen, at Trey Lyle _VT, and then at M_Massey22. We are taking a couple weeks off because of the Olympic break, so no show next week, no show the week after. But we will be back the week before Richmond to preview everything that we missed on / caught up with the past 2 weeks. But big thanks to everybody at the sports program, for Michael Massie, Trey Lau, Tom Bowles, everybody that is part of this fantastic shindig. We appreciate it. Coming up next, though, on the Front Stretch Podcast Network, Through the Gears, my man Tino has got all the betting odds for you for the return of the Oval at Indianapolis. Once again, he's got all the latest. For Trey Lau, for Michael Massie, for Brian Timothy Dale Nolen, I am Brian Timothy Dale Nolen. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll talk with you in a couple weeks. I'm going on vacation, so ciao.
What's up? Michael Massie here, frontstretch.com. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button.